So it's not often that Glenn Beck gets me thinking. At least, unless that thought is, my God, how did this idiot get his own show? But you know, one I've been thinking a little about some sort of controversy he's been involved in lately, which is he said something about how if you're a member of a church that talks about social justice, run as fast as you can, away from that church. Um, And he's basically saying that social justice is a code word for communism, which he totally does not know what that word means. But in any case, and I find it interesting that actually he thinks communism is actually the welfare state, when actually the welfare state is a product of liberalism. And I think real leftism, real socialism, socialist and communist thought is actually opposed to the welfare state. Um, so that I think is actually the big difference between liberalism and leftism. And there's the whole common social justice. Reminds me of I guess there was some Catholic bishop in Brazil who said, "When I feed the poor, people call me a saint. When I ask why they're poor, they call me a communist." So I don't consider myself a socialist or a communist. And until recently, I kind of consider myself a liberal, but I was actually thinking about the sense in which I'm a little bit more leftist than I am liberal. Um, and that is that the welfare state seems like there's a sort of fatalistic defeatism to it, that poverty is sort of an inevitable consequence of the natural state of things, and so we just have to have this state apparatus to feed these people and make sure they don't starve to death, and make sure they have housing and stuff. So basically, in a sense, it's kind of they're talking about. I say it's kind of a institution. It's sort of an institutional charity. A lot of libertarians would say forced charity, but which it is in a sense. Um, but when I look at it, I see poverty as not something that's simply natural. It actually has institutional causes in our society. The primary cause of which is the privatization of the commons. The idea that you could own a plot of land, not just use the plot of land, but actually own it, um, live off of the rents from it, and not owe anything back to society for that. And so that's why I advocate a system of land value taxation, um, as a way of restoring the commons, so that in a sense everyone has equal access to the benefits of nature. And I would say if I was really just removing the institutional cause of it, we'd have to actually go back to um, a system of not having land ownership, not being able to sell land, which I think uh, I can't imagine how we would actually manage to revert to that. But what we can do is adjust our concept of land tenure um, so it's a privilege that you have to pay society for, rather than some sort of right, in the same way that owning the product of your labor is a right. And and so that's the sense in which I kind of think of myself as more of a leftist. At the same time, it also feels a little bit libertarian of me as well, because I'm saying that we don't need welfare, we don't need food stamps and all that stuff, because that's just a sort of compensation for a more um, a more pervasive injustice which causes poverty to begin with. And so, by emphasizing true social justice, I think I'm, in a sense, advocating smaller government. In a sense, I'm not one of those anarchists who think that government it all is, is the cause of all of this. I mean, it's government enforces a sort of a sort of social norm in which these concepts of private land tenure and and private money creation are existent. And so yeah, I mean, I definitely, and just to be clear, in terms of my views on the welfare state, I exempt from my view of the welfare state um, those things like healthcare, where I actually just think the state could do a better job than the private sector, or more to the point, I think that wealth no, that the healthcare is best done on a nonprofit basis. So if not having the state be in charge of healthcare, and at least have a set of regulated nonprofits like they have in Germany or Switzerland or something like that. Um, and I mean, I think Social Security might be is something I would maybe still support. I mean, the kind of welfare things that actually benefit everyone, but the attitude that sort of we have to take pity on the poor is actually something I'm opposed to, because what we really need to do is actually examine the more underlying causes of their poverty and address those. So that's why on the foreign front, there's one of the biggest advocates of poverty elimination right now is an economist named Jeffrey Sachs, who is basically saying how much foreign aid we need to give to those countries that can build infrastructure and eliminate poverty in our country. When the thing is, if you look at the amount of third world debt that goes on, the funding of totalitarian regimes, the exploitation of their natural resources, really, you kind of realize that that we in the West are actually, and not necessarily ordinary people like you and me, but some of the institutions in our countries are actually the cause of many of those countries' poverty, and so in a sense that that's kind of it kind of brings you to the realization that more than anything, we just need to get out of their way and let them develop and let them become rich, rather than exploiting them in the name of charity. And so I mean, and so in that sense, it's really weird for me how that kind of brings libertarianism together with kind of the radical left, in a sense. That there's actually that so much of what needs to be done is actually just taking down institutions that are causing so many of our problems, rather than creating new institutions to just sort of be charitable for for some of the injustices that were caused by the very institutions that it's built upon. So I guess that's my thought for now. Peace.